Master, it's itchy, please touch it. The incubus I'd just bought was flushed and breathing heavily the moment we got home. Just one more scratch, just one. His tail was shockingly hot, wrapped tightly around me. I suspected he was sick, so I posted online for help. Why is my incubus's tail so itchy? The top-rated comment made my head explode. Dude, you're not getting it. You think he wants you to scratch his tail. He wants you to. Hey op, it's not his tail he wants you to get your hands on, it's his. 1. Op, speaking from experience, do not touch an incubus's tail QAQ unless you're ready for what comes next. Fun fact. The first sign an incubus is going into heat is his tail getting hot. A master has to be especially careful not to let them hold it in for too long, or the master is the one who will suffer. Following in the footsteps of my cat won't stop vibrating, and my fish keeps floating belly up. We now have my incubus's tail won't stop itching. Alright everyone, pack it up. It's a done deal by now. The op probably doesn't have the strength to open the app anymore. Before I looked at my phone, I was worried my sick incubus wouldn't be covered by my health insurance. After looking at my phone, I froze. What did they mean? An itchy tail meant he was in heat. What exactly did the incubus want to get his hands on? And why would the master be the one to suffer if the incubus held it in too long? My hand, which had been kneading his tail, stopped. The tall male incubus was panting, a pleasant husky purr rumbling in his chest. He sounded confused. Master, why did you stop? He tucked his tail back dejectedly, the corners of his beautiful eyes turning red. If Master is tired, you can let go. I can endure it on my own. A wave of guilt washed over me. I lifted my aching hand and went back to massaging his tail. I stroked it from base to tip, varying the pressure. When I squeezed the soft, triangular spade at the very end, he let out a muffled grunt. His tail twitched violently a few times, his whole body tensing up. I hesitated. Is your illness getting worse, or are you? I couldn't bring myself to say the words in heat. 2. I had no idea how to handle an incubus's heat cycle, because I never planned on buying an incubus in the first place. But I happened to pass by a physical incubus store that was holding a promotional lottery, and I won a coupon for $99,990 off any purchase of $100,000 or more. At first, I thought it was one of those new $5 off a Rolls-Royce scams. But it turned out that among the incubi costing hundreds of thousands or even millions, there was one priced at exactly $100,000. $10 for a $100,000 incubus. I was definitely coming out ahead, so even though I had no need for a male incubus to warm my bed, I still bought Aiden. My plan was to treat him like an organic robot, responsible for my daily chores. But on his very first night, his tail started burning up, and he begged me in a husky voice to rub it for him. It's common knowledge that incubi are never ugly, and Aiden was the cream of the crop. He was tall with well-defined muscles, deep-set features, and a handsome, captivating face, a classic, striking beauty. I hate to admit it, but he was just a tiny bit more handsome than me. When he looked at me with those deep, naturally lined eyes and pleaded, I found it impossible to refuse him anything. So I wasted my precious weekend giving him a tail massage for an entire day. When I finally snapped out of it, I wanted to slap myself with my sore hand. I awkwardly let go of his searing tail. I'm tired, that's enough for today, we'll see about tomorrow. Aiden seemed to be holding something back, swallowing hard a few times, but he still obediently withdrew his scorching tail. Seeing his aggrieved and submissive look, I almost lost my mind and reached for his tail again. Thankfully, my stomach growled, reminding me I hadn't eaten in ages. I cleared my throat. Let's get ready for dinner. He stood up obediently and headed for the kitchen. I'll cook for Master. My hand, which had been reaching for a pack of instant noodles, froze and then casually retreated. 3. I figured he could cook, but I didn't expect him to be this good. In no time at all, a simple yet delicious spread of 4 dishes and a soup was laid out on the table. Compared to my usual diet of instant noodles, this was a veritable feast. Aiden walked over with the last dish, his voice husky and magnetic. Master, dinner is ready. The heat from his tail didn't seem to have subsided. He'd gotten so hot he'd taken off his shirt, wearing only a dark apron I'd bought a long time ago. The apron was a bit small for him, stretched taut across his body, barely covering the important parts. The muscles of his chest, contrasted against the dark fabric, looked exceptionally pale, almost glowing. I looked away as if I'd been burned. Try to dress more properly at home from now on. It would be awkward if we had visitors. Aiden hummed in agreement, his eyes misting over. But Master, I'm hot. I stole an uneasy glance at him. He really was hot. A thin sheen of sweat covered his forehead, and his eyes were locked on me, his Adam's apple bobbing. "I'll turn on the AC then." After dinner, I instinctively headed for my bedroom. A tall, hot body pressed against me from behind, enveloping me in warmth. I stopped abruptly. He stopped too, resting his head on my shoulder, his warm breath fanning against my ear. It was tingly and electric. I frowned. "I told you to sleep in the room next door. Why are you following me?" Aiden's sharp, handsome features curved into a smile, his lips brushing almost imperceptibly against my cheek. "Master, I want to sleep with you." My back tensed, and I refused without thinking. "I didn't buy you to warm my bed. Besides doing chores, you're free to do whatever you want. You don't have to please me. After all, he only cost me $10. I never expected anything from him. Aiden's voice fell, and his tail snaked around my waist as if trying to coax me. "But master, incubi can't get full from human food." "I'm hungry." His tail rubbed against my waist, moving lower and lower. His breath ghosted over my neck, and I could even feel the vibration of his Adam's apple as he spoke. "Huh." My eyes widened. I shoved him away in a panic, slammed my bedroom door shut, and gasped for air. I didn't know the consequences of not feeding Aiden, but I knew one thing. Once I fed him, it wouldn't be clear who was on top. For to protect my virtue, I spent the next week leaving early and coming home late, locking myself in my bedroom the moment I got back. No matter how much he knocked, I wouldn't come out. Aiden sensed my cold shoulder, and the light in his eyes seemed to dim. He stopped complaining about his tail and silently hid himself away to endure it alone. The apartment became progressively neater, with new little trinkets appearing that I'd never seen before. It felt less like my rental and more like a home Aiden and I shared. One day I came home from work and walked right into his arms as I entered. His body was scorching. He pulled back to a respectable distance, his expression strained, his tail lifted slightly as if greeting me. "Master, could I bring you lunch tomorrow? We have too many groceries and I can't finish them all." I vaguely remembered that to raise an incubus, I had gone to the supermarket a week ago and stuffed the fridge to the brim. I'd been eating all my meals out this week. The food in the fridge was probably about to go bad. "Okay," I agreed. Aiden's eyes lit up, the spade on his tail tip blurring with motion. The walls of my apartment were thin. That night I heard muffled, pained, yet excited groans coming from the bedroom next door. Vaguely I felt my own mouth go dry. 5. Aiden came to my office to deliver lunch the next day, but I was swamped, rushing to finish a report for an afternoon meeting and couldn't get away. Just then, my colleague Mark was going to pick up the group lunch order. I asked him to bring mine up for me. He teased me. "Leo, what's with you? Too good to join us for the group takeout anymore. Someone's making my meals at home," I said with a grin. Mark clicked his tongue in envy. When he came back up with the food, his expression was dazed, like he'd been poisoned by the takeout. "Leo, was that guy who brought your lunch your boyfriend? He's a total dreamboat." I thought of Aiden holding me, his body burning hot, and how it wasn't that different from having a boyfriend. My mind went blank and my face instantly turned red. I stammered, "No, that's my incubus." "You have an incubus of that model." Mark's eyes widened as he stared at me, looking like he wanted to say more but couldn't. "So you're... No wonder all my efforts were for nothing. We're the same type." I looked at Mark's slender frame and fell silent. What did he mean we were the same type? Even with someone like Aiden, I'm the one on top 6. Aiden seemed to be getting worse these past 2 days. His handsome face was etched with pained endurance, his eyes misty and his brow furrowed in discomfort. He would call my name in a low, hoarse voice, begging me to soothe him. I just couldn't refuse him. I promised to rub his tail as soon as I got home from work. But my hand was aching so much I thought I was developing tendinitis. He, however, only craved my touch more. His gaze grew deeper and darker, making me increasingly uneasy. Fortunately, on Friday, my manager closed a huge deal and, in a grand gesture, treated the whole team to dinner. Having a legitimate reason to refuse him, I breathed a sigh of relief. I quickly sent Aiden a message. "I have a work dinner tonight, won't be home to eat." Aiden replied instantly. "Will Master still rub my tail tonight?" An image of him, restrained and lustful after I touched his tail, flashed through my mind. I slowly typed back, "We'll see if there's time." Aiden sent back a sticker of a docilely waiting character. My heart softened. At the dinner, my manager brought her incubus along. She was a very charming and lively young woman. I hid in a corner, stuffing my face, but the conversation suddenly turned to me. "I heard Leo has an incubus too. How come we don't see him bringing him out?" "Yeah, I see Leo's incubus bringing him lunch every day. He's so lucky." I heard incubi are very nourishing for people. Is that true? It's definitely true. My cousin got an incubus and now she's glowing, looks years younger. There's a new incubus store that opened up near the office. Should we go check it out? The topic quickly shifted, and I just smiled, offered a few words, and went back to eating. But then the manager's incubus suddenly approached me. Her nose twitched slightly as she leaned in to sniff me. 7. Didn't everyone say you have an incubus? Why don't I smell one on you? I explained, my incubus and I don't have much contact. He usually just cooks for me. Instantly the succubus shot me a condemning look. Your incubus is so pitiful. He has to work for you every day without getting to eat. I didn't. She cut me off aggressively. Didn't what? Didn't let him eat. Didn't make him work for you. You humans get all passionate and bind an incubus, but then you don't feed them properly. Do you have any idea how many incubi starve to death every year? Incubi can starve to death. This was the first I'd heard of it. I quickly grabbed the arm of the furious succubus as she tried to leave. I'm so sorry, I had no idea incubi could starve. I wanted to ask, what happens if an incubus doesn't feed for a long time? The succubus, Chloe, said coldly, if an incubus isn't bound to a human, they can go for years without feeding. But if they've already formed a contract with a human and don't feed, they'll grow weaker and weaker and starve to death very quickly. My mind reeled as I tried to remember if Aiden and I had signed a contract. We probably hadn't, she added, with no kindness in her tone, and don't think you're innocent just because you didn't formally sign anything. If an incubus spends a long time with a human and has physical contact, a passive contract forms automatically. If I'm not mistaken, your incubus has been passively bound to you for a while now. Chloe grabbed my arm, wrote a string of numbers on it with a pen, her tea-colored eyes deadly serious. Our lives are lives too. This is my number. If your incubus can't take it anymore, have him contact me. I'll help him. She even deliberately left a trace of her unique succubus scent on me, so Aiden would recognize it if he met her. 8. The thought that Aiden could starve to death because I'd been avoiding him made my heart clench. He had been listless lately, not as energetic as when he first arrived. Aiden, did he know he was already bound to me? Did he know he would die if he didn't feed soon? A dense, sharp pain spread through my chest. After all this time together, I had come to depend on his presence. Back at the table, I drank one glass after another. Mark saw my dark expression and patted my shoulder comfortingly. Whatever's wrong, just eat and drink and it'll pass. Like me, I wasn't sad for too long after finding out we were the same type. Glass after glass went down, and I quickly started feeling drunk. Through hazy eyes, I stressed to my colleague, how are we the same type? I'm so much bigger than you, he laughed, slinging an arm over my shoulder like a good buddy and squeezing my muscle. No matter how big you are, you're just like me, a bottom. I refused to accept it and downed another mouthful of alcohol. Slurring my words, I insisted I could go 7 times a night, that I couldn't be more of a top. I got too worked up and blacked out completely. I don't even know how I got home. Leaning against the door outside, I slowly rang the doorbell. Click, the door opened. Aiden smiled. Master, you're finally back. A strong wind was blowing into the apartment, making things on the entryway cabinet rattle. He stared at me, and for some reason, he froze. I was unsteady on my feet and stumbled into his arms, rubbing all the chaotic scents from outside onto him. Leo, did you have fun? The smile on his face gradually vanished. I was dizzy. Yeah, I even met a succubus, she. Did you think of me while you were playing with another demon? He interrupted. 9. I froze. Aiden didn't seem like his usual self. You met a female succubus and you had a deep conversation with her, didn't you? He asked, his eyes downcast, his face expressionless. I was surprised. How did you know? You have her scent on you and her contact info, he said, his expression icy. Wow, you're amazing. You even know that. I didn't catch the undertone in his words and praised his foresight. I happily held up the arm with the phone number. Look, she wrote this for me. You can. No, I can't. Aiden looked down at me, then suddenly slammed the door shut with a thud. He trapped me between the door and his body. The corners of his eyes were red as he crushed his lips against mine. I struggled hard, but I couldn't break free. I could only submit to the movement of his lips and tongue. His tail was wrapped around my waist, making it hard to breathe. I rubbed the tip of his tail like I used to, but he didn't let go. Instead, he coiled tighter, his movements growing more frantic. I could even feel his restless tail exploring behind me, probing gently. In an instant, I went rigid, understanding exactly where he wanted to get in. He carried me to the bed. I fought desperately, but under his assault, I melted into a puddle. NGH, no. I don't want to. A low, needy whimper escaped my lips, startling me. That sound wasn't a rejection, it sounded more like an invitation. "Can another demon make you feel this good?" he asked, his eyes darkening. I stared at him blankly, my lips sealed by his, unable to answer. In the end, I couldn't resist any of his advances. I made sounds I never normally would and moved in ways I never thought I could. "Leo, do you like me?" A bead of sweat from Aiden's forehead dripped onto my face. Our sweat mingled together. "No, I don't." I tried to punch him, but my arm went limp, falling uselessly against his body. The conspicuous black numbers were exposed. He paused, then leaned over and licked them, trying to erase the contact info from my arm. I remembered it was for Chloe and struggled to pull away. His face turned cold. "Is that succubus so great, you won't even let me wipe off her number?" I was stunned. "No, it's for you to add her. For me to add her to learn some new tricks. Am I not satisfying you?" Aiden's voice was grim. He bit my lip fiercely, silencing me completely. A brilliant burst of fireworks exploded in my brain. 10. In the morning, Aiden woke up first. He buried his face in my chest, kissing and licking me, as intoxicated as a cat with catnip. His thrashing tail slapped against my body, waking me up. I pushed him away, revealing a body covered in red marks. "Aiden, we need to talk." My voice was so hoarse it sounded like sandpaper. His arms, wrapped around me, slowly tightened. "Go on, I'm listening." "I met a succubus yesterday," Before I could finish, Aiden covered my mouth with his. "Sorry, master, couldn't help myself." "Please continue." "She said that if an incubus has prolonged physical contact with a human, they automatically form a contract." "MMMPH, he covered my mouth again. "Master, please continue," I panted as I pushed him away. Even I, slow as I was, could tell he was deliberately stopping me from talking. I pinched the muscle on his arm. "I'm being serious." "Don't touch me." His tail drooped limply onto my abs. I hugged him. "I'm sorry, Aiden." "Are you still going to bind yourself to that female succubus?" He stiffened, his voice dropping. I was mortified. "What are you talking about? That's my manager's incubus." "Really?" He visibly brightened. "Couldn't be more real," I nodded. "I'm sorry, Aiden. I never knew that incubi form contracts just from physical contact, or that you could starve to death if you didn't feed after being bound. I don't want you to die." I just wasn't ready to be with a man." My voice was muffled. "If you really can't stand being with me, I can give you the manager's succubus's contact info. She seems to know how to break contracts." Aiden stared at me, his eyes growing brighter and brighter. "So, you weren't going to bind yourself to another demon?" His pupils dilated, their color deepening, and he excitedly pounced on me. "It's okay, master. I can be on top a few more times to help you get ready." His body grew scorching hot again, the tip of his tail poking my lower back, restless. Aroused by his earlier kisses, I let him take hold of me. Together, we sank into a wonderful state of arousal. 11. But soon I felt something was wrong. Aiden's reactions were growing more intense, more abnormal. He was much rougher than the night before, and it was starting to hurt. I grabbed his hair, arching my back. "Aiden, gently, be gentle," but he didn't listen at all. His body temperature was rising rapidly. The entire incubus was burning hot. The pain made me bite his tail, but the fiery spade at the tip scalded me. "Master, I think I'm—" Aiden tried to say something, but before he could finish, he collapsed from the high fever. My heart seized. I frantically shook him. Aiden, what's wrong? Wake up." I was at a complete loss. My hands trembled as I reached for my phone to call an ambulance. But then I realized I didn't know how to call an incubus-specific ambulance. Suddenly, I remembered the succubus from last night had given me her number. My eyes lit up. But when I lifted my arm, the black ink was already blurred and illegible. Aiden had licked it so much the numbers were unrecognizable. In a panic, I called my manager to get in touch with her incubus. Chloe got on the phone, her voice lazy. "Hello, you irresponsible incubus owner. What do you want?" My voice was anxious and guilty. Hi, I wanted to ask where I should take an incubus if he's fainted." My incubus's temperature suddenly shot up, and then he passed out. Chloe's lazy tone vanished. "Tell me his exact condition." As I explained, she called an ambulance from the incubus-specific hospital for me. Soon, the ambulance arrived to take Aiden. At the hospital, Aiden underwent a series of tests and was put on an IV drip in a hospital bed. I held the test results, my voice trembling. 12. So, he was already running on fumes from prolonged starvation and exhaustion, and then he fainted because of a major emotional swing. The doctor pushed up her glasses, her tone cool. "Correct, the patient wasn't fed properly by his master after the contract was formed. Combined with being in heat for an extended period without release, his body was already at its limit. His emotions then fluctuated wildly, and the combination of factors led to a high fever and his subsequent collapse. She added, "As a master, you must pay attention to your incubus's physical condition. When an incubus is in heat, their tail will become hot. It's very easy to recognize. The master is responsible for helping the incubus through their heat cycle in a timely manner." I nodded repeatedly, my heart heavy. I had taken raising an incubus far too lightly. I wasn't ready, yet I'd carelessly brought Aiden home. I had failed him, 13. I took a few days off work to personally look after Aiden at the hospital. The doctor said his condition had improved greatly over the past couple of days and that he was expected to wake up tomorrow or the day after. I hummed a song as I carried my own lunch and Aiden's special nutritional formula. My mood was unusually light. I couldn't help but do a little hop, pretending to shoot a basketball in the air. When Aiden wakes up, I'll feed him properly, even if it drains me completely, but when I pushed open the door to his room, the bed was empty. There was no Aiden. The bed was still warm, but Aiden was gone. I thought he had woken up and started searching for him inside and outside the room. Aiden, Aiden, Aiden. I couldn't find him anywhere. Panic set in. Where on earth did Aiden go? I found a nurse doing her rounds and asked about him. All I got was a vague, "He's been discharged." Shouldn't I, the master, have been notified of his discharge? Could it be that Aiden woke up and didn't want to see me again, so he deliberately avoided me? I dejectedly held the food, forcing a smile that was more bitter than a bitter melon. It was only right that Aiden didn't want to see me. I hadn't been good to him. I made him do this and that, and I didn't even feed him. I gathered Aiden's belongings from the room and walked out of the hospital, wandering aimlessly through the streets. Without realizing it, I ended up in front of the store where I had bought him. A glimmer of hope appeared in my eyes. I rushed to stop the owner. "Hello, the incubus I bought is missing. Can you help me find him?" He thought for a moment, then asked if the incubus's name was Aiden. Yes, his name is Aiden. I used a huge coupon and bought him for $10. He adopted an expression of having nothing to disclose. "Sorry, I can't tell you his exact whereabouts, but you can stop looking. His family took him away." "Why?" I murmured. "Because you didn't feed your incubus properly. You let him starve. His family couldn't stand by and watch, so they forcibly took him back." 14. He shrugged. The contract between an incubus and a human is a mutually beneficial choice. The human provides food, and the incubus provides economic and emotional value. But you clearly failed to do your part. Your incubus has the right to leave you. Leaving the incubus store, I felt even more dejected. I looked up. The blinding glare of the setting sun stabbed my eyes, and 2 streams of water traced paths down my face. Back home, I buried my face in Aiden's bed, still not giving up hope. Even if Aiden was determined to leave me, he could have at least said goodbye. I contacted Chloe again. Someone who helped me once was likely to help me a second time. Banking on this, I shamelessly asked for help again. "Chloe, could you please help me find my incubus? His name is Aiden," I said, my voice low and completely dejected. "He disappeared from the hospital this morning. I heard his family took him. I want to see him one more time to know how he's doing. Please, I'm begging you." Perhaps seeing how pitiful I was, Chloe paused her usual lazy tone and agreed to help me find Aiden. A day later, as I was listlessly picking at my takeout, Chloe's call came through. "Leo, the incubus you're looking for, Aiden, has another identity. I'm sorry, but I can't help you. But the fact that he chose you in the first place means he has feelings for you. Maybe you can wait for him to come find you." 15. Thanks to Chloe's detailed explanations, I finally learned that there were different kinds of incubi. Some had very obvious demonic features, making it easy for them to be seen as outsiders and difficult to integrate into human society. They could only survive by forming contracts with humans. Other incubi, however, could control their biological traits so well they were indistinguishable from humans, just a bit better looking. Correspondingly, they were less restricted by contracts and could feed on humans other than their masters. Aiden's family must be that kind of incubus. They even held a high status in human society, which was why they could take Aiden away so silently, without leaving me a single clue. So Aiden wouldn't starve after leaving me. In fact, he would be better off. My fingers clenched, veins popping. A sense of powerlessness flooded my body. All I could do was wait for Aiden to come back to me on his own. If he didn't want to, we might never see each other again in this lifetime. But I had been so awful to him. Why would he possibly want to? I gently closed my eyes and 2 tears fell into my takeout container. Goodbye, Aiden. Goodbye forever, 16. The 20th day since Aiden left. After pulling consecutive all-nighters at work, my manager forced me to stop. I don't need a break. I stared with bloodshot eyes, my vocal cords raspy from disuse. The moment I stopped, the moment I returned to the empty apartment, I would be overwhelmed by a desperate longing for the days when Aiden was still here. My manager pointed at the dark circles under my eyes. If you don't rest, I'm afraid you'll drop dead at the company today and make headlines. After 5 or 6 days, I returned to my apartment. Having lived at the office for so long, the place felt unfamiliar. Many things were not where I remembered them, and I had been working overtime for too long. I thought I was hallucinating. There was someone else in the apartment, someone who looked a lot like Aiden. He was wearing familiar loungewear, cleaning the apartment. The moment he bent over, his lean back looked like a resilient bamboo stalk. "Hey, Dan," I said, incredulous. The person heard my voice and turned around. His sharp, handsome features curved into a delighted arc. "Master, you're finally back." He stood a short distance away, maintaining a polite social distance, but his tail was restlessly rubbing against my leg. I rushed over and hugged him tightly. Tears fell like broken strings of pearls landing on his collarbone. "I thought I'd never see you again." He hugged me back just as tightly, as if trying to crush me into his body. Leo. "I'm back." 17, we held each other for a long time, from the golden sunset to the deep of night. I frantically breathed in Aiden's scent. I kissed every inch of his body with obsessive devotion. After a long while, we held each other and stumbled into my bedroom. We eagerly did everything intimate. My room was still just as it was on the day he collapsed. A few condom wrappers were still scattered on the bed. Panting, I stopped him from tearing one open, signaling that he could eat directly. Afterward, he held me tightly, his pleasant voice tinged with grievance. "Master, I sent you so many messages these past few days, but you never replied." My eyes were hazy. "I've been working overtime at the office. I left my backup phone at home." My backup phone had my personal social media account, which held many of our chat logs. I was afraid of seeing them and being reminded of him, so I just left it at home. Aiden wasn't satisfied with my answer, his eyes growing deep and obscure. He pulled me into an abyss of passion again and again. I fed him repeatedly, forgetting that I had just worked overtime for 5 or 6 days straight. The next time he stirred, my eyes rolled back and I fainted. When I woke up again, the scent of delicious food filled my nose. Aiden was carefully wiping my body with a hot towel. A steaming bowl of lean pork congee sat beside me. Seeing me awake, a smile bloomed on Aiden's handsome face. "Leo, master, eat now that you're awake." My throat was a little sore. I picked up the bowl and took small sips of the congee. He continued to wipe me down, his movements clearly meant to please. I shivered and reached out to stop him. "After you disappeared, I went to ask the owner of that Incubus store. He said your family took you. Aiden, your family is well off. Why were you in an Incubus store? Or rather, why did you deliberately give me a coupon so I could buy you? What was your intention?" I laughed at myself. It couldn't possibly be for an ordinary office worker like me. After a night of intoxication, I was back to reality. I saw the huge gap between Aiden and me. He paused. "Master, and you don't really want to call me master," I exposed him. Aiden's long fingers suddenly clenched. He looked at me meaningfully, his eyes growing darker. "Compared to calling you Leo, I really don't want to call you master." He bent down and gently kissed my eyes. "Leo, I did come to you on purpose." He licked the corner of my lips. "Do you remember your childhood?" I was dazed. My childhood? Yes, when we were in kindergarten. A sharp pain shot through my head, as if something was trying to burst out from the depths of my memory. 18, he gently nibbled my Adam's apple, his words muffled. "Remember, Leo." A flood of memories poured into my mind. I remembered. I had known Aiden back in kindergarten. I was the undisputed king of the kids, with a gang of followers trailing me everywhere. And Aiden was widely recognized as the loner of the kindergarten. He was always by himself and didn't like to be with any of the other children. One day, he hid in the bathroom and refused to come out. During recess, he had lost control of his tail, and it had popped out, scaring a timid child to tears. The other kids gathered in groups, going to the bathroom specifically to see his tail. They all made fun of him, calling it a devil's tail. Little Aiden hid in a bathroom stall, holding back tears, too scared to come out. He tried his best to tuck his tail away, to hide it, but the other kids could still see it and mock him. I was bursting to pee. Annoyed by the crowd in the bathroom, I puffed out my chest and shooed them all out. Intimidated by my tyranny, they obediently left. After I finished, I felt invigorated. I swaggered around the bathroom and found Aiden in a corner. I looked at the beautiful tail behind him and my eyes lit up. "Whoa, that's so cool, where did you get that tail?" He pressed his lips together, didn't speak, and turned his back to me, but I kept pestering him with questions. When I couldn't get an answer, an idea struck me. I disappeared from the bathroom for a moment. "Todd, I have a tail too." When I reappeared before Aiden, a triangular-shaped tail was hanging from my butt. But I still stared at Aiden's with envy. "HMPH, darn it, why isn't mine as cool as yours?" My tail was ugly, made from a triangular building block with a hole drilled in it, tied to a stripped willow branch. It looked ridiculous hanging off my backside. Little Aiden stared at my tail, unblinking. I proudly grabbed his hand and showed off our tails to all the other kids. For the next week, the whole kindergarten was trending with wearing tails to school. Because I was so envious of his beautiful tail, I pestered him until we became best friends. We made a pinky promise to grow up together, but an incubus was, after all, an anomaly in human society. Aiden couldn't reveal that he was a young incubus, so his family used incubus magic to hypnotize everyone who had seen his tail, including me. I lost my memories of Aiden, and at the same time, my family had to move to another city for work. And just like that, Aiden and I completely lost contact. 19, I looked for you for a very, very long time, Aiden said, his eyes downcast, his expression dark and lost. When I found you, you were surrounded by people and had no idea who I was. Later, I tried to find you many more times, but you were always focused on other people and never once looked at me. I felt awkward. No wonder I felt you looked so familiar when I saw you in the Incubus store. I had no choice but to find an excuse to give you a coupon to nudge you into buying me, he said, a little aggrieved. But the moment I got here, my heat started early and you wouldn't let me touch you, telling me to solve it myself. I guiltily hooked his hand with my finger. I forgot about you. No wonder I thought your tail was so cool and beautiful the moment I saw it. It likes you too, he said, his gaze obscure and fixed on me. Aiden's Adam's apple bobbed, his tail stirring restlessly. I yelped and quickly wrapped myself in the blanket. 20. After a rare day of rest, dusk fell. Aiden stared at me mournfully as I ate dinner. On the table was a soup he had spent 2 hours simmering, steaming hot. The milky white broth was rich and appetizing. "Leo, I'm hungry too." I lifted my bowl to drink the soup, deliberately pretending not to understand his hint. "If you're hungry, then eat." "You made so much I can't finish it all by myself," he chuckled, exasperated. "Are you pretending not to understand, or do you really not get it? My heat isn't over yet." I froze. "Didn't I already feed you for a whole night? It's still not enough." He was dissatisfied. "Special time lasts for several days, and mine was delayed because you didn't soothe me in time." I decided to just go for broke. "But I'm still eating. Why don't you eat your meal and I'll eat mine?" But it seemed that was exactly what he was waiting for me to say. His pupils instantly dilated with excitement. "You're the one who said it." My spoon trembled and clattered onto the table. The intense stimulation made my brain go fuzzy, a complete blank. The moment I was dragged away, I was filled with sorrow. I'd unwittingly boarded a pirate ship. How much longer would these days last?